Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ball Agenda Reveal Show. I'm joined on my left-hand side by Mr. Emekawani. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Good to be back. Looking forward to the finals this weekend, Copa America and Euros.
And on my right-hand side, I'm joined by no one. Mr. Chinedu Asnugo is currently on a flight to our studio. So once he's back, touchdown on Sunday, we'll have him back for our wrap-up of the Euros episode. But let's get right into it. We saw the first semi-final, Italy against Spain. We'll talk a little bit about what we saw, what we took from that game for Italy going forward. And I think it's useful to start with Luis Enrique and what he did with that Spain team. I'm interested to get your thoughts on that, Emeka.
I was very pleasantly surprised. I think they overachieved. I think he did a great job with probably the weakest Spanish team we've seen in a while, and a bit of a mishmash team with youth and some experience. But I was actually discussing with a friend. Another thing I like to do is when I watch national teams, I like to see where the players are from, and not just their clubs, but also where they're actually born and they're from. And I was like, okay, this is the first Spanish team in a major tournament that I can remember that at least quarter of the squad is from the Basque region. You have Simon, you have Aspi, you have Laporte in quotes. So you have there's a lot. It's a mishmash. You have Oyarzabal as well. So you have guys from clubs like that, lesser clubs.
Don't you mean Otuzabal?
Yeah. So it's a squad where you see Dani Olmo from Leipzig. So it's a very, very different squad. Torres just made a big move in the last year. And you see this team, it's definitely not the best Spanish squad, but I thought they played very, very well. And they're very, very unlucky to get knocked out. I really, really enjoyed their performance. Before the game, unfortunately, I wasn't on the show before the game, but I thought Italy would win maybe 2-1 and it would be fairly comfortable. But I thought Spain were definitely the better team. Italy came into a bit more in the second half on the counter, but I felt Spain completely were in control. 70% possession, way higher XG. They created 3 big chances, 12 shots on target. I think they have about 800 passes to Italy's 200. And again, I'm not going to get completely distorted by just the stats alone, but even the eye test, I thought Spain were the better team and they were unlucky to lose. If they had a bit more cutting edge and firepower, I think they take that game. But credit to Luis Enrique. Pedri was fantastic in the tournament, and for him to trust Pedri and have the likes of Rodri and Thiago on the bench, Busquets with the calming presence in that midfield, Koke all action. And I don't know if you remember, there's this clip through ball he did. And,
that's the Otuzabal moment.
Yeah, and I don't know if you thought it was offside, but again, sometimes you don't maybe know Koke. Koke can pass. He had that in his locker, but a ball like that was very incisive. I was really impressed by Spain. I was really, really impressed by Spain, and I thought they were unlucky. And like I said, a Spain team with a front line of Torres, Olmo, and who was on the left? Torres, Olmo, and Oyarzabal. And so I was very impressed. And
that does not make you scared in any way.
Exactly, but the performance is there. But if they had more of a cutting edge, and just a quick shout out to Olmo, I tweeted it the other day. He gave me Fabregas 2012 Euros vibes. That false 9. He drew Bonucci so far out, so much of the time. Bonucci was almost on the halfway line because Olmo was dragging him all over the place. His first touch was fantastic. His link-up was fantastic. He held up the ball well. His technique was just on point. And unfortunately, yes, he's not going to get you those goals, but it was just like a brief homage to Fabregas false 9 days. So credit to Spain, but Italy, they always a threat on the break, and they did what they had to do and won on pens. But I was very, very impressed by Spain.
Yeah, no, I thought I thoroughly expected you to say the same thing. I thought, like you said, when you look at it on paper, nothing about the team is scary or instills any sort of fear in any teams. But the way they played, I really felt they would, whoever they faced in the final, Denmark or England, they would totally dominate, but probably end up losing because they can't finish. So that is credit to Enrique. It shows that he's a proper coach, and he can basically use his system and take players and make them better than they actually, or make them perform together and make them play within his system. And I think a lot of people would have looked at his time at Barcelona and thought otherwise. But this is just another notch on his belt in terms of how good a coach he is. We talked about what Spain did right. what do you think Mancini and Italy got right?
I think, I
Obviously,
mean,
besides winning.
yeah, I mean, so they did what they could on the day where they had to be solid. I thought Chiellini was, apart from he made a slight error, but like on the whole, he was monstrous. And the whole Bonucci and Chiellini, they marshaled the line quite well, and they broke well. Like Chiesa, you could tell at the end he was absolutely shattered. And once that happened, that's when Spain completely had the game on a chokehold, because Chiesa was their one outlet, and once he tired, and I think he even like pulled a muscle. So once that happened, it was a wrap, because Insigne, he's quick, he's like faintly quick, but like he doesn't make great strides. He's one of those guys with like, his smaller legs, and he looks quicker than he actually is. And obviously we know Immobile for Italy, he just doesn't perform to that level. He doesn't hold up the ball well. He doesn't make as many incisive runs as you'd expect. And to be fair, he probably doesn't get as many of those passes that he would want. But I thought they did what they had to do. They sat back well, and they broke well at times in the second half. In the first half, I didn't see that enough. But in the second half, I thought in the first half of the second half, first bits of the second half, like they broke quite well, and they looked dangerous. And I thought that was the only way they were going to score. And of course, that's how they did score. So I mean, credit to them.
Yeah, I was going to say, it showed
ahead.
a lot of urgency from on their goal. You see Donnarumma get the ball straight away. He rolls it out right into the midfield. One pass goes out to Insigne, and the pass into Immobile, a little heavy, puts them under pressure, and they score from that. And it's literally 2-3 passes from the keeper catching the ball. And people like Berardi, Belotti coming on were really good in terms of, like you said, breaking well, even providing some threats. Maybe not as much towards the end of the game, but as extra time went on, they also looked a little bit more threatening. So I think there's credit to Mancini there for the changes. What did you think about Emerson deputizing for their player of the tournament, Spinazzola, and his performance?
Yeah, so it was definitely a downgrade. Emerson is not the most reliable player. He had a good break once when he went down the left, and I think he hit the bar. But he was just average. I don't think he was particularly bad or anything. He just like lacked that thrust that Spinazzola offered. And Spinazzola, the way they play, the 4-4-3, 4-3-3, like with Spinazzola and Di Lorenzo, they almost pretty much play as wing backs, and Jorginho sits back. And so it's almost like they have two extra wingers plus whoever they start when it's Insigne and Berardi or Insigne and Chiesa. When you have those two, then you have Spinazzola and Di Lorenzo, with Jorginho now actually like being like falling back as like a halfback. So that's like, it gives them such an extra dimension. And unfortunately, Emerson, he doesn't have the legs. He has the technique, but he doesn't have the legs, and he just doesn't have that drive and off the ball movement that Spinazzola has. So unfortunately, they lack something there, and I think that's something England can capitalize on.
Yeah, and the last thing that I was going to actually ask about here was, I know people like to dissect penalty shootouts, but I don't really think there's anything to dissect there. So my only question would just be a little bit on Jorginho's penalty and just what you thought about that as the final man, all the pressure on his shoulders and what he did.
So that's when it comes to years and years of training, years and years of like experience in that penalty, supreme confidence in that penalty. And he was so sure. But I was surprised that the keeper, because when I see him, he looked like he'd done a lot of work on penalties. He seemed very confident compared to what that Madridian fraud De Gea did for us in the final. He looked like he knew what he was doing. He looked confident. And even when he did miss the penalties, he kind of was close, went to the right side. So I was surprised that I guess the pressure, that last kick.
Exactly.
I was surprised he gambled so quickly. He gambled too quickly. Because in that Jorginho style, is when you have such a run up like that, it's very hard to pick, like to really, really place it so far wide. So like there's some penalties when like Harry Kane, when he hits it low and hard, it goes like almost to the side of the net. But with those Jorginho penalties, it's all about getting the keeper the wrong way. So I was surprised that he gambled so early, because there was no way Jorginho was going to get enough power to hit it really bottom corner where you're not going to get a chance to save it if you don't move too early. So he made it too easy for Jorginho. But on Jorginho's side, like I said, he has supreme confidence in that penalty. And in that pressure moment, he just knew, like, years and years of hard work and that self-efficacy that he knows that he's made it so many times. So ice in his veins for that. But I thought the keeper made it a bit too easy for him.
If I'm to speculate on what was going on in Simone's head, what I would think is, because I remember against Tottenham last season, the penalty that Chelsea got, Jorginho actually just stepped up and smashed it. I think he had missed a couple leading up to that, and he didn't do the skip. So maybe there was some mind games going on with Simone saying, okay, if I wait, he'll just smash it in any corner, and I'm obviously not going to save it. So maybe he's been doing this hop, and now that's the biggest penalty of his career. He won't do something like that, and he'll actually take a proper penalty. And then he does it, and then so that's what I would think, because he did, like you said, seem like he did his homework, and the Swiss players played the exact same penalties as previously, and he was prepared. But it seemed like in this one, Jorginho outfoxed him. So credit to him there. We'll move on to the next. Point. Yeah, we'll move on to the next semi-final. Denmark taking on England. England prevailing after extra time. What did the Danes do well for you?
They carried on what they've been doing all tournament. First of all, they were extremely solid. They were extremely solid at the back. I really enjoyed how well they marshaled Harry Kane, especially in the first half. And their combination play is just like, there was the chance, one that Kyle Walker at the start of the game, where Kyle Walker, the recovery merchant, when he did his thing, but the combination play is just fantastic. It's fantastic to watch. Damsgaard obviously did his thing, and his link up, his technique was great. And again, Braithwaite, I tweeted, that guy is good. For Barcelona,
I told you the last episode.
He looks so out of place in Barcelona, but like, that guy is good. Like, his link up is good. He just seems so assured. He plays mature,
and he's also rich.
Mature. Sorry?
He's also rich.
Really?
Apparently, he's the richest player in Barcelona.
I'm
serious. He has apparently in 2017 he put 850,000 euros, which is why I know footballers are just dumb, because a lot of footballers, their job is to get their bar and buy cars and make Instagram videos so that people can say you're dripping. He took probably a couple months' salary, 850k euros, invested in 2017 in real estate company with his uncle, and now that 850k is worth 250 mil euros.
Wow!
And he's like the richest guy in Barcelona.
Wow. But say again, so that sense off the pitch, it definitely goes on the pitch, because I was very, very impressed. I was impressed by his performance. But the Danes, they play a very, very European style, a very continental style, not the kind of Scandinavian style you would expect, which is almost slightly English a lot of the time. But I was very impressed. I was very impressed with them, and I thought they were unlucky to lose. So I think their combination play especially was very good, and they gave England definitely the toughest game so far that they had in the tournament. And defensively, again, like they said, they've been solid with the back three of Vestergaard, Kjær, and Christensen. And for me, maybe arguably the key of the tournament, Cassius Michael. I enjoyed his performance, his leadership on and off the pitch, and I really enjoyed the performance.
Would you say? I guess this is actually going to be a question for when we do our wrap-up episode. I was going to ask you about Schmeichel versus Sommer, but that's a question I want to find out later. What did England do right for you? Besides dive correctly.
Resilience. So they finally showed us a bit of bottle, and again I tweeted it. I was like, okay, finally England, like show us what you're made of, and they did that. Sorry, my internet is getting a bit fuzzy. It started raining in Nigeria, so
okay, it's back. Yeah.
I'm suffering. So yeah, for me it was resilience. The first time I really wanted to see what they were made of, and they didn't panic. At home, the newspapers have already said, England versus Italy final. So they showed a bit of resilience, which I really liked. And I think I noted. I don't know if, can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I noted. So the Saka thing. So
I was going to ask you about Saka next.
I'll get into the global performance, as Mourinho says, the globality of the performance.
I haven't heard that one. What did you say?
Mourinho's always talking about the global. So
in Talk Sports.
No, in general, if you look at his interviews, when he wants to talk about like the whole team's performance, he says the globality of the performance.
Global versus local. I love it.
So for me, Saka. So the Saka thing, as a United fan, Sancho. So the whole Sancho Saka or even Foden, Saka, all that stuff. And
Man, you're taking me to my next agenda where I was going to talk about notable absentees in both games.
so
So I guess
so
we'll
I
get
won't
to
go
the
too
one
deep
for
into it.
Spain.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
let's
won't go
talk about
too
this. Yeah.
deep into it. So it's more like, okay, Sancho is a better player than Saka. I think that's clear. I think Foden,
What makes
ability
it
wise, he
clear?
has, because the fact, okay, who's the better passer? Sancho. Who's the better dribbler? Sancho. Who scores more goals? Sancho. Who makes more assists? Sancho. But
Those last two things that you said are highly skewed by Bundesliga tax.
Who no
And quality of team, because Dortmund is just a better team than Arsenal.
Who's finishing is better?
Oh yeah, Sancho. Yeah, Sancho.
Who is a better passer? Bundesliga tax.
I can't say passing. I can say dribbling because I know Saka leads Arsenal in assists for the past few years. Saka has led Arsenal in assists for the past few years.
Sancho is a better passer. Sancho is a playmaker. Saka is not a playmaker. Sancho is a playmaker. But the difference is, Saka is a versatile guy. He's more direct.
Under Emery, Saka is playing 10.
Saka is not, but it doesn't mean you're a playmaker. Like, it doesn't mean you're an incisive through ball passer. It doesn't mean you can pick locks. That's not Saka's game.
How does he get most of his assists?
Because he's a winger. A lot of his assists are wide.
If you watch a lot of, I was in a lot of Arsenal's games. Saka is that guy through the middle that picks a pass, incisive through ball. He's led Arsenal in assists for the past 2 seasons. I think that, and a lot of Arsenal's goals aren't from crosses or wide.
Saka is not.
You might be right, but I just want to make. I don't think there's any daylight.
Saka is a lot more direct in terms of, he's more of a winger. Like, Sancho can play as a 10 at a very, very high level, and like, a lot of his passes. If you watch Sancho's game, a lot of his passes he's an amazing reverse passer. Like, he'll cut in and slide in like a reverse pass to Haaland. Finish. Like, he's a great playmaker, and he's like a mix of a Grealish and a winger, like, because he's a great playmaker. But my point is, if you look at ability wise, I think it's pretty clear to me that Sancho is a better player in terms of he can do more things at a higher level. But Saka works so much better in this team because he's very direct, and it's like what we saw today, what we saw against Denmark was what we saw Harry Kane play for Spurs, where you saw he dropped a bit deeper a lot of time, even like the own goal that he scored. Sancho will never make that run in a million years that Saka made to get the goal. Like, when he made the pass, hit it back in for the own goal. So that is exactly why he's playing, because he has, and Sterling as well, he has that off the ball running, that direct running, that like ginger to want to go in behind. If that was Sancho would have wanted that ball to feet to try and beat the defender on his own, or try and do something, because again, he has all that ability, and not everybody has that, that mentality, like, that hunger to go in behind. So that's why it works perfectly, because that's the exact kind of run that Son will make.
Yeah.
Or like Gareth Bale will make, or whatever. Like, that drive and that determination to make that run is what made the goal. And when I saw that, that's exactly, it was so clear to me that that's exactly why guys pick this boy over the others, because Foden has incredible ability as well, like incredible ability, probably one of the most talented in the squad. Well, he's not making that run. He would have wanted the ball to feet to try and do something, maybe a 1-2 or a reverse or whatever. But Saka gives you that, and Saka also gives you a lot on the defensive end. And the boy is talented. Don't get me wrong. He's not that. I'm just saying like a workhorse or like a workhorse or anything. He's a very talented boy. So my internet starts thing.
You can still hear you. Yeah, it was worse before. Now you're back. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Saka is not a workhorse or anything. He's a very talented boy, but he has that drive to go behind. And when you want Kane to play make and do his thing, drop a bit deeper and find Sterling and find the opposite winger, that's the perfect scenario. And I think it worked perfectly. And pretty okay, because it's so easy to be like, okay, Sancho, Rashford or Foden or Grealish, but they don't offer what Saka offers. And I think he's deservedly starting.
And what ultimately settled the game after everything, some Schmeichel heroics, pretty even game that England started to take more of a foothold in later on in the game, it was ultimately decided by a penalty. What do you think about the decision?
Terrible. I'm an England fan, but it was It was terrible. It was soft, and for the magnitude, the moment to give that call and to not make the referee go back to even have a look, I thought it like I know it's going to be very hard for it to be overturned because clear and obvious and all that nonsense. But the fact that the ref even just made that call like that, or that they didn't tell him to go and have another look in that moment in extra time in a semi-final, I thought that was incredibly harsh. And even though I wanted England to win, I was with my friends and I just mentioned like I wasn't happy like how it happened. Like I wasn't happy like for them to win that way. Like I just wasn't. I wanted them to actually like kind of really go through it and win the game. But like I thought that was a bit of a. I didn't like how it ended, and I thought it was a very harsh call. Plus, you see there were like lasers in Kasper Schmeichel's eyes as well. Like I just didn't like the ending. But I mean, England fans would say they've had the short end on the stick in previous tournaments. So, but yeah, I didn't like the ending, and I definitely didn't like the call.
Yeah, there must be something in the rules that maybe prevents them from saying go have a look. Not even that you're wrong, because I don't understand why you don't even just say just go check. Like at least
Just go and
satisfy
have a look.
yourself.
Yeah,
And that's the thing that really got me about the
makes no
decision.
sense.
And then the other thing that I'll say from that game, if you want to be hypercritical, you can say Kasper Schmeichel should be pushing that penalty out. I think he tried to catch it, and there was just a little bit too much power. But I think he did the hard work, went the right way, saved it. I think he should. If this was a penalty shootout, perfect. But that opportunity of a rebound, I think he should have been trying to push that wide.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that was poor on his part as well. Definitely, I guess again in that moment, sometimes your brain is frazzled, like, oh, right, actually, went the right way. Harry Kane doesn't miss penalties, and his technique just failed him at that moment. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, it was a very harsh call.
And that just goes to show that the thing I took up from that was that goes to show that this pressure thing is a real thing, because Kane, I've seen him miss one penalty, and that was against Liverpool, and that's silly 2-2 match at Anfield, where they got another penalty that he scored. But he missed it only because he tried to go straight and Karius stayed straight. Every other time he's gone for a corner, he smashes it in, keeper no chance. And that's like 30 times or more. And for him to miss on that stage definitely just painted a clear picture to me of what's happening in those penalty shootouts when people laugh that you blaze it over or you
it's not easy,
to the keeper. Someone that's a penalty specialist did that, then I was like, okay, we need to.
Yeah, it's not easy.
We can move to notable absentees. So in the first game, for me, notable absentees in this tournament are people like David De Gea, like you mentioned, Thiago Alcantara. I don't know if you had any others from that game and any thoughts that you had on people that really didn't get going in this tournament.
Well, notable absentees, like in terms of like in the semifinals.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that no striker played, I thought was pretty notable. Because throughout the tournament, either Morata played or Moreno played on the right. So for him to the semifinal without a striker, I thought that was pretty notable and showed how he wanted to play. Showed again like he wanted to completely dominate the ball and to drag Chiellini and Bonucci into positions where they were uncomfortable. So I thought that was pretty notable. But I think Thiago is I mean, he's not notable in this game because I mean he hasn't played all tournaments.
That's what I'm saying. In terms of the tournament, like when we think of like the teams at the semifinal, like those players, we didn't see David De Gea at all. We barely saw Thiago Alcantara. Like I'm curious what you think about those types of absences.
Yeah, I think that was pretty big. The fact that there was no Thiago at all, and he started an 18-year-old over him all tournaments. I think that says a lot. De Gea, he got injured like halfway through. Plus, I think Simon is his number one anyway, so I don't think that was really notable. But I think Thiago was a big one for Spain. No one a year ago would have ever thought that Pedri would be ahead of him in a tournament, and deservedly so because Pedri was fantastic. So I think that was a big one. For Italy, I mean Locatelli, after he starts, he just completely got after Verratti came back, he just completely got like kind of shipped to the curb, and he came on and he had zero impact in the game. The game completely bypassed him. But so that was a pretty big one. Overall for Italy, no, not really. Berardi, he's been sent to the bench. And yeah, I think Chiesa has a bit more of an impact on the game, so I can't really complain too much. But I think England would be a big one because everybody has their thoughts on who should be playing and who's starting, who's not starting. So I think I think Rashford is a big one for me. Like I don't think he would have been starting, but like I'm very surprised he's being so peripheral, because even during qualifiers, Southgate trusted him a lot. Southgate trusted him a lot, but in this tournament, he's just been completely almost overlooked. And I feel even like the game like Sancho started, I feel Rashford should even have been ahead. But it's just the fact that unfortunately maybe he's not as versatile in terms of right and left wing, and Sterling is undroppable. But yeah, I've been very surprised and I guess a bit biased and disappointed that Rashford hasn't come up with looking, because he's been one of Southgate's most trusted members of the team. Grealish is another one. I definitely think he should have played a lot more. He's getting not garbage minutes, but he's
Garbage
an
minutes.
impact
He was
player.
brought on and brought off.
Brought off. Well, he had 30 minutes towards the end of the game to make a difference, but I don't think I understand the Mount loving, and I know Mount's a fantastic player, very versatile, does a lot of great things, tactically very, very disciplined and smart, but I'm not seeing enough of that. And I'm not even trying to be maybe like, I'm not one of those people that don't see what Mount does, but I'm not seeing enough of anything that is like, if Grealish was there will be such a difference in terms of the structure of the team, because you already have two very solid defensive midfielders. You have a defense that is playing fantastically well. So I don't think Mount is doing enough of the dirty slash, not visible to the casual stuff that if Grealish was playing, it would be, such a big deal. So I think that I definitely would have liked to see Grealish play a bit more. I think that's a big one. I think Foden has been rightfully dropped. After all the hype and all the Gaza blonde hype, I think he's been rightfully dropped. And Saka and even
That
Sancho,
must really hurt the media.
and
Really.
Yeah. And after Saka's performances and even Sancho against Ukraine, I think Foden has definitely been rightfully dropped. But I think Grealish is a big one.
Yeah, to follow up on that, I was actually just going to say, I think the benefit you get with Mount, especially at Chelsea, where a lot of the games they cede possession and there's just a lot of hard grafting, covering lots of yards, helping out in the midfield, dropping deep. I think Mount offers a creative outlet, but because of those legs that he has, he can also really be useful defensively. But like you mentioned, in the current England system, you have Rice and Phillips doing that pretty much full time, offering nothing going forward.
Yeah.
So you're essentially playing your number 10 in a free role. And I think Mount is not as good a number 10 in a free role when you don't need him to do the other stuff. And Grealish is a much better number 10. Jack Grealish being told to just basically go play, go create something, don't worry about really focusing on coming back is insane, because he does defensive work at Villa and we still see how he hurts teams. And that's been a very weak team. Now surrounded by players who will do the running for you. I think Southgate might be missing a trick there. It's clearly working so far, but I think it's still why England look very rigid when they attack.
Yeah, especially when you have your wingers doing a lot of defensive work as well. So it's like the DMs are there, the wingers are running back, and so it just seems a bit overkill for me. There's like the amount is there. I think the fact that when there's any problem, he's bringing on Grealish first. That's his first solution to change the game. Like, why not just start him? Like, you're already playing Saka for his drive plus his defensive work. Sterling's up and down, tracking back and still running, sprinting at his fastest in 120th minute. And Maguire, Luke Shaw are playing some of the best football of their careers. Stone's fantastic. So like, why not just have one Maverick in the team? Like
exactly.
Everyone that's what I have one. Have one Maverick, but like I said, it's working out for him. But unfortunately, if he goes down against Italy, it might be too late. Bringing on Jack Grealish might be too late. Something to think about, but it's probably not going to happen. But like, everybody in that team is almost pretty much by the book. So why not just have one Maverick in the team and not just trying to bring him on in the last 20, 30 minutes to change the game?
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And to move on from absentees, The next thing is now we know the final. It's Italy, it's England. How do you think England can hurt Italy, and how should they try to set up? What do you think Southgate will do?
I think if Italy were going to play five at the back, he would change. But Southgate is a very pragmatic guy, so if you're what you're doing, I'll mirror you. I'll do what you're doing. So I think they're both going to play 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. So they're both going for at the back, and so that's set. And I think the team is going to remain the same. I think the team that started in the final is going to stay for England, and rightfully so. So how they can hurt Italy? I think first of all they have to capitalize on home advantage, and they have to start fast against
They
them.
basically played this
see
entire
signs of
Euros at
nerves,
home.
and like I said, they at home exactly. So I think they have to start fast, and they have to try and make an early goal and hurt Italy set pieces. I think England are a fantastic set piece team, and apparently Gareth Southgate, he works really, really, really hard on that. And so many times England have a lot of these chances, and if like Harry Maguire gets 2-3 good ones every single game. So I think that's a very, very good way they could do that, and an easy way to get a goal, because I think England are,
I think the other thing that I took
I think England are a massive team.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I took from Spain was that high press really puts the Italian defenders under pressure. You could see it with Donnarumma kind of not having options to play the ball out.
As well.
Chiellini, and I think that's another thing that the energy of Sterling and people like Saka can really do to put that back four under pressure, win the ball higher, if they're really trying to hurt Italy, as well as set pieces like you mentioned. Flipping it the other way, how do you think? So flipping the other way, how do you think Italy can hurt England?
Keep the ball. England don't play well. That's why I think Spain would have been very difficult for England, because England don't play well against teams that keep the ball. And I think it will also remove the whole, because there's going to be so much ginger on the day, so much pressure, so much tension. So if Italy could just keep the ball, and Jorginho, Verratti, and maybe not so much Barella, but like if they can take the sting out of the game, I think that could cause major problems, because England are a very good physical, strong team. Like the whole idea of maybe Chiesa running in behind, and how he was scaring the likes of Jordi Alba and all these slow guys. Kyle Walker, Luke Shaw are incredibly fast, so you're not going to really go in behind them. John Stones, Maguire rarely get caught out because they're solid. They stay. They're not over push. So I think the first thing Italy should do is to take this thing out of the game. Definitely take this thing out of the game, because I think that would get England nervous, because Italy they are more used to being in this situation than the English. So I think that's the first thing they can do. And again, it's just I think that for me, that's if I was Mancini, that's the first thing I would say. But at the same time, they also have to be confident, and they have skillful players. They have the better midfield by far. They have the better midfield.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it might be one of those things where you watch and you see. There's sometimes when you see maybe in the group stages of the Champions League, and you see a midfield that's just so clearly better than the other midfield, but they work hard and they can graft and they can tackle hard. I think the gulf in class between a Jorginho and Verratti and Rice and Phillips is actually Jorginho, Barella, Verratti, whoever plays, and who is in the types of likes of Rice and Phillips, I think is so wide that if it becomes a controlling the midfield affair, they will get run off the park.
Exactly, which is what, if it was like what Croatia did to them in 2018, where obviously like the likes of Modric, Rakitic, like again, that it might get to a point where passion and all that stuff is not going to work. It's not going to work, because like say if the likes of Verratti and Jorginho show their personality on the ball and control the game, I think they will cause England a lot of problems. But I do think England's home advantage and that emotion and the fact that England are a very, very strong and physical and fast team, and I think they could definitely cause Italy problems there, because I just think England are far superior, physically superior, and Italy don't really have a striker, because Immobile has, his normal Italian performances has just been so subpar, and Maguire and Stones have been definitely the best defensive partnership in the tournament.
Is it worth playing Belotti?
I don't think that's going to happen. And Belotti himself, he's kind of falling off. Like, he's more physical But I would probably still start Immobile because I think Belotti is the kind of striker that Maguire would like to face because he's left like nifty, less
Let's play
nifty. He's
Gaga ball.
more exactly. He's a gra guy. He holds up the ball. He likes to, and like Maguire is going to be good. He's better in the air. Maguire is bigger, stronger. Belotti is not necessarily quick, but Immobile at his best, he's one of those guys like he's very cunning. His off the ball movement is fantastic. He just hasn't shown enough for Italy, but I think he has more potential to cause that defense problems than a Belotti. Belotti can come in if a goal is needed to come and scrap and all that. But I would still start Immobile. I think he had a higher ceiling for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. And are there any final thoughts on the final before we move over to Copa America?
Yeah, I mean, your predictions. Who do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, on the previous episode when we talked about it, I think 2 episodes ago, I said I wouldn't be surprised if France win, but my team that I'm picking to win is Italy. So I'm on track for that, and I'm sticking with my guts. I mean, I want Italy to win. I said it before, but that doesn't really matter. I just want Italy to win because I don't want England to win. So that's my heart speaking. But England can win this game.
Definitely.
And it's actually harder to see Italy winning because I just feel like over 90 minutes, even if they're ahead in the first half, England just with the physicality, stamina, fitness, home advantage, can start to see gaps later on in the game, start to feel more confident. So I think the odds are definitely in England's favor, but I still just want this would be amazing. 34 games unbeaten if they win the final for Mancini, and maybe the last match as Italy coach because a big club understands that he can still do it at the top.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I have a very nagging thing that just that midfield thing we said. I have a feeling that the Italians, they're very cunning. They're very they know how to, even though, to be fair, I don't want to be too stereotypical because they're actually playing very good football, but I think they just have a bit more of the dark arts and just that midfield superiority. But I'll be ready with England. I'm going to go with England. I think honestly the home advantage is going to play a big factor. Like if this was in Rome or something, like imagine a full like stadium like in Rome or San Siro or whatever, like Olimpico or San Siro. But like I think that home advantage, and I think England are going to start fast. England are going to start very fast and not give the likes of Verratti and Jorginho to control the game. And I think they're going to get an early goal, and Italy will come back and score one more. But I think England take this 2-1 based off, like I said, home advantage plus. Like they're just a bigger, stronger, faster team, and crucially they have better quality to come off the bench, and I think that could be the difference.
Yeah, there's a lot of quality on the bench, and I saw some things where people were writing that people like Jordan Henderson might come in. Maybe that's to improve the quality of the midfield. I think it does. But I don't know if Southgate goes that route, and I don't know how much of a solution that would be to what we talked about.
Yeah, I don't see Southgate again. He reminds me of Ole. Like he's not changing. He's not going to change a winning formula to bring in Henderson right now. I don't see that happening. I think it's Phillips and Rice to the very end, and Mount to hustle in front. So I don't think that's changing.
Such a workman-like team, but I totally agree. So we'll move over to Copa America. We have a mouthwatering final on Saturday, Brazil versus Argentina. Also, why is there no third place playoff in the Euros? It's kind of annoying.
True. No one has time for that.
And do you have a squad set up to watch the final?
Yeah.
Going to viewing center or at home?
Nah, so like I have like a nice spot. Yeah, I get people here, drinks flowing, and I'm ready.
And everybody tweeting.
Everybody.
Or do you guys turn off your phone so that people won't tell you go 30 seconds
can do
before?
Everyone can do what they want to their phones, but I mean, people really tease when there's a goal or something crazy happening, but
that's what I'm saying. Like before you say goal and then you now see it, and I'll be sorry. You'll feel it the same way.
No, but yeah, in America, you guys be all these your CBS or whatever that they're watching on like a stream. Also watching live, watching proper live, not your 30 seconds behind.
You guys always see it first.
we see first. We see early.
I need to set up my setup for that because that match is gonna be crazy. Like there honestly could not be anything I think that would be more fun than being in England on Sunday. Just the way those guys are.
I also happy because even, as much as I like Denmark and Italy would have been such an anticlimax. I think Italy and England is no, you'd have been. I mean, obviously, maybe the game would have been
Everybody's
good,
rooting for Denmark though. Like the whole story, like that was documentary ready. That was documentary ready.
I think England first final since '66 in Wembley against Italy, who have like a very strong contingent in London as well, and an amazing team playing great football. Like I think it's the final we all deserve, to be honest.
The Sopranos versus the Peaky Blinders.
Yes, sir.
So in terms of we saw Brazil get past Peru 1-0. Argentina. This Messi, despite his teammates' best efforts to go out with people like those guys are actually evil guys because there was literally a I don't know if you saw it in the highlights, but the ball they broke free. Ospina ran out. Di Maria rounded him, passed to Martinez, and there was one player in the center of the goal, and he could have done anything, and he shot straight at the player. And the player played it, and he came to Di Maria, and he came to Di Maria right in front of that player and shot it over. So like they're clearly just trying to go out.
They don't want my guy to win the international tournament, sabotaging it for years.
But one man has decided to put it on his head to try to change that. Yes, 3 penalty saves in the final. And that's the thing that we've always been saying. Well, at least I have. Since I forget who it was at the 18 World Cup, when they lost 4-2 to France. They had a somewhat better keeper, but still the goals that they considered in that game were one of them at least was one where I said, a better keeper would do something here. And that's just been something that I've said, but they're so good in attack. Argentina, they have a decent defense that they can make it work, but they've never had a keeper that instills any kind of confidence in you. Romero was the closest that they got to, but still, he was not that guy that you can put your house on. So I think now having Martinez as a solid foundation and what he did in that penalty shootout, I'm happy about because it's a sign of, I think, things to come. Good young goalkeeper, tons of experience at the highest level. And I'm really glad that he was able to pull off those heroics in the penalty shootout with the trash talking and Colombia after going through on penalties in the previous round. I think that there must be something about going through on penalties and around doing penalties again. And the last thing is I saw a tweet about Copa America being like AFCON, and I totally agree because I don't know how you can play 90 minutes and go straight to penalties. What is that?
Hustle ball. But big ups to Emiliano and Martinez. I thought, like, again, you just want to see a keeper have, and again, De Gea, I'm sorry, I just can't. I'm never going to forgive him. I'm never ever going to forgive him for that penalty shootout. Like a keeper with presence, like you just saw the presence. It's not just about the height, it's about the presence, the confidence to read the player, to psych the other player out, not just be so mellow and man. Anyway, don't let me get into it again. But Martinez now. Credit
How
to
you
him,
wish that fax machine had worked.
Okay, I don't know about that, but I mean now I've written him off. But Martinez, you could see how happy Messi was. Like, Messi called him a phenomenon, and if Messi calls you that, then you might be doing something right, and just has that confidence, and he could be the difference on Saturday nights into Sunday.
Yeah, no, I mean, if Messi goes from Ronaldson to Matt Ryan, he'll call Matt Ryan a phenomenon. So I don't think that's saying that much. Like Messi has been living a poverty life with goalkeepers, so anything now will be phenomenal. What do you think this final means for Messi's legacy? I'm assuming we expect to see him in 18 months. And what do you also think it means for Neymar's legacy? Because I think he's past his prime now. Things seem to be slowing down for him in terms of when we think about Neymar being that explosive guy, one of the ones to look to. So what do you think this means for their respective careers in general and on the international stage?
Yeah, I think it'll be massive. It'll be massive, very, very, very big for Messi. I mean, he's still, like, for me, the greatest of all time. But I think this would be one more, one more thing he can add to his collection that I think will just completely round it off. And you can see how much it means to him. Like when you saw how animated he was at Mina when he was like, saying, like, laughing at him that he's not dancing anymore. Like, he was very animated. I don't see him get that way for Barcelona. Like, he's like a completely different person with Argentina. You can see how much it means to him to actually get this trophy for Argentina, because he's always been teased and accused of being a Spanish boy and not being one of them. But you can see how much it means. And I think it'll be massive for him. Obviously, not to be, Ronaldo has won one. So, I mean, you have to still compare that. Ronaldo has won. I don't count Nations League because Messi can't compete. There's no equivalent in South America. But Ronaldo has won the Euros. And I think it'll be very, very big for Messi's legacy. And it's funny because this Argentina team is, like, compared to some of the teams he's played in the past. But how ironic would it be that this might be the one he wins with,
Exactly.
So I think it'll be massive and huge for Messi's legacy, and for me it will cement the argument if he can win it. But I don't think he will.
And it's 4 goals and 5 assists at this Copa America. I don't
man of
think
the
he
match.
can
I think
really
he had
do
like 3.
5 man of
I
the
think he had
match
like 3 or 4 man. Yeah, exactly. Man of the match awards. Yeah. So
know what else you can do.
But no one's going to hear that one. You know how it is.
Even when we got to the final of the World Cup, no one cares about that. You didn't win. That's your business.
No one. It doesn't matter.
What about for Neymar?
For Neymar, I don't think it will be big, but I don't think it would be. If you had to pick one, I think it means more to Messi, because Neymar, I mean, he's won the Olympics, he's won Confederations Cup
too.
I mean, okay, no, it was he has actually, yeah, okay, he has, and Confederations Cup, which doesn't really count, I guess. But Neymar is younger and he has more time to do it. But as well, I think, like, Neymar's Brazil is fantastic. No one has ever accused Neymar of being,
which is crazy.
For Brazil. If anything, he's been better. If anything, he's been better for Brazil than at club level. So, Messi, the detractors sometimes say, he doesn't really care about Argentina. So I think it would be more like, for Neymar, it would just be more of a cherry on top kind of thing. But like I said, like, I think he can still win it in 2 years or one. Like I said, they do this thing every year or every 2 years. So I think Neymar still has time. Plus Brazil's team going forward is going to be a lot better. They have a better team. And like I said, Neymar is younger, so I think he can still win it. But I think it means more to Messi. And again, it's the GOAT conversation, so it's magnified. It's different. It's different. But for Neymar, I think Neymar, like I said, Neymar has been incredible for Brazil. I wish I had his goal record here, but like, he's maybe 3rd or 2nd already on the charts, and he has assists, loads of assists as well, and he always seems to perform for Brazil. So I think it will mean a lot to him because he's never won it, but I don't think it will mean as much to him as it will mean to Messi, because Messi probably knows this might be his last chance.
For Copa America or for international glory?
For Copa America, but international glory, I don't. That team is just not good enough. Having a centre back pairing of Pesela and Otamendi is not going to win you the World Cup. So,
2021.
I don't think that's happening.
And finally, let's move to a little bit of transfer flavor. We'll just cover PSG.
Wait, predictions.
Oh, predictions for that. I want a 2-1 to Argentina.
Well, what do you think?
I don't see them keeping. Oh, I think it'll be 2-1 to Argentina. I think just my heart believes that it's time for Messi to finally do this. And it will be really sad if he does it. But I don't think they can keep Brazil out. And if Argentina are to do it, I think they'll score. So I guess there's no extra time. So yeah, either 2-1 or it goes to penalties.
Yeah, I think Brazil are going to win. I think Brazil are going to win it. Maybe 2-1, 1-0. I think Brazil are going to win it, unfortunately. But yeah, I think they are. Plus, my boy Freddy in that midfield, he and Casemiro. Fred has been one of the players of the tournament. He's coming back.
Oh, what do they call that thing?
That's what I have to say.
What do they call that thing when a player is reborn? There's one word that guys like to use on Twitter.
Reborn, I don't know.
There's a word, remontada.
Remontada. Yeah, he's back. And I'm not surprised. He said that this South American tournament, like I said, it's almost very AFCON-like, and I'm not surprised this is where Fred is. So the most un-Brazilian, but he's been playing well, jokes aside.
Fred is coming back. You like that for next season?
If we get Camavinga, I think Pogba is going to go, and I'm quite happy with that. But I think if we can get a defender, we have Sancho coming in and Camavinga, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'd rather Pogba go than leave on a free.
Okay. So let's move to PSG. Last stop of the day, a little bit of transfer flavor. It seems like PSG are really trying to stake their claim next season for a real push for the Champions League. They've bought Hakimi. They've got in Sergio Ramos as of today. Donnarumma at the back. I know what that means for Keylor Navas, but they've done it either way. And it seems like they're and Wijnaldum. So it seems like they're being really aggressive in this transfer window and early. A lot of this completed before the end of the Euros. So they'll have time to mesh in the preseason and hit the ground running during the season. I'm just curious what you think about their transfer strategy so far and what else they need and what you think that means for them next season.
Yeah, so I think they're definitely going for it. I think they're bored. They're finally tired of they've been picking scraps for a few years. I mean, when you see their team and their midfield with like Herrera on a free, like Danilo Pereira, all these guys, and you get like Moise Kean. So I think they're finally now acting like the kind of club that they should be, and they're kind of just going off the rails a bit with that. So I think fantastic signings. I think Ramos is what they need. A bit ironic though, you let Thiago Silva go, but you get Ramos in for like those same reasons. Like they said, like they wanted that experience, that leadership, like the leadership qualities and all that. So like it kind of doesn't really add up. But I think they're going to go with a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 next season with Kimpembe, Ramos, and Marquinhos. And I would say they got Hakimi for that, the best wing back in the world probably. Then you have maybe Bernat on the left. So yeah, I think they're going for it, and that midfield is going to be very, 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 very good next season. Wijnaldum, Verratti, and maybe even Pogba. So, I think they're definitely going to go for it. And will they win it? I don't know. They're still buttless to me, but I mean they're giving themselves every chance to. And Pochettino have a fantastic coach as well.
Yeah,
Pochettino have a fantastic coach as well. So it'll be fun to watch, and I mean they're probably going to be my FIFA team next year. So let's see.
That's a cheap team. Any last thoughts on anything today?
No, just looking forward to the finals. So for me, Saturday night, Argentina, Brazil, Sunday the final. Then there's also NBA finals as well. So yeah, just weekend of sport, and yeah, I can't wait.
Just the way we like it. So leave your agendas at the door when you analyze the beautiful game. Share your expert opinions. Do a topical deep dive. Just ask yourself one thing. What's that, Emeka?
Do I know ball?
Thank you very much. Good night.